IPVanish protects every device you own. Your phone, your laptop, your smart TV. If it connects to the internet, it should be protected. IPVanish encrypts your connection and masks your IP address, helping keep your browsing private at home and on public Wi-Fi. And with no device limits, one account covers everything. Stream with added privacy, browse securely, connect with confidence. Online protection made simple. Right now, save 83% off the 2-year plan. Get started today at ipvanish.com/audio and take control of your privacy with IPVanish.
Since the dawn of gaming, first-person shooters have been kings of the castle, but not all kings are created equal. Much like Highlander,
there can be only one.
And in the universe of first-person shooters, there is one undisputed king, Duke Nukem 3D, mother.
Oh, look at those pixels.
What's it got? Guns? Check. Aliens? You bet your ass. Spaceships? Done. Explosions? You gotta ask? How about shooting alien pigs dressed as LAPD inside of a strip club? Oh, you bet your ass it does. And you can pick up steroids. This is Duke Nukem 3D after all. Utilizing only the most pristine of the VGA graphics, you can go on a 30-mission kick-ass and chew bubblegum adventure to let those alien bastards know they with the wrong guy.
Retro Recall.
Welcome back to Retro Recall, the show with more nostalgia than you can balance on top of your flat top haircut. People still have those? Is that a thing still?
Yeah, I live in the northern part of the U.S. Yeah, they do.
That's still a thing.
Yeah.
Well, hey, welcome back to the show. This is the show where John says, "Hey, we should play this game from our youth," and I'm like, "That's cool, but let's do a challenge too." And then whoever loses the challenge has to play some crappy game at the end of the show. So just stick around for that because that's always fun and a lot of suffering. We're gonna see who wins and loses this week. But before that, John, what game? Who are we talking about? I almost gave it away by saying who instead of what.
We are talking about the one, the only, the greatest first-person shooter of all time, Duke Nukem 3D.
Oh, yeah.
Fortnite.
Man, this is a classic. And Duke is notorious?
Maybe I shouldn't say it's the greatest of all time, but I think it's without doubt the most infamous. Yes. That is hands down the most infamous. Greatest, we can have some arguments, but nothing is more infamous than Duke Nukem.
Yeah, we've done some good games and some bad games now, but why this one specifically?
All right, so candidly, this is a beauty of a game that lives very pleasantly in the memories of, I think, any, especially boy, born around 1980, anywhere near that. It was built as a funny and wild version of a first-person shooter.
I'm Duke Nukem, and I'm coming to get the rest of you alien bastards.
You know, the game inspired by Wolfenstein, then Doom, and then carrying to modern, we now have Fortnite, Call of Duty, all that. Duke Nukem 3D is kind of the progeny of some of the more fun ones in there. It was also this massively successful interpretation of it, both financially, they sold quite a lot of copies, but more importantly, from an influence standpoint. Yeah. I loved this game as a teenager, I guess maybe early teenager, and going back and playing it again was super exciting for me.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there were all of these Doom likes after Doom became so popular, but not all of them are as memorable as Duke Nukem. So, I mean, it must have done something right. Hit me with some facts about the game. You said this came out in the late 90s. What year was that?
So 1996. It's actually an interesting release. Its official release is April 19th, but it was actually something called shareware, which we'll get into in a second. Yeah. It was released as shareware back in January of 1996. It was MS-DOS. It was available on CD-ROM and 3.5-inch floppy disk, which for those of you who are younger, that's the save icon. It's not a full floppy. The floppy was the 5 1/4. The 3.5 was the harder disc, not to be confused with the zip disc.
That's a different thing. Yeah, this one was smaller than the big floppy, but held more because the technology improved, but wasn't as big as a zip disk and then the other things or CD-ROMs. It's a whole thing. Yeah. Yeah,
it's an amazing process. But the game had 3 releases all within 1 year. So we talk about, we always think about modern era like DLC. DLC can be years in between. This game's full release was in April. The first expansion came in October, and the second expansion came in December. That's just like that, all within what's that? 7 months? No, 8 months?
That is unheard of now. I mean,
oh yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you get a DLC in the first year. You get like the first expansion or something, and then maybe one the next year, but not at all.
I mean, I'm trying to think how many years later The Witcher's last DLC was, or Witcher 3 from release. I mean, that's
I think it was like 3 years later. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Heck, you go back in time to Fallout 3, the end of the 2000s, which was 10 years after this, and that had something like 5 DLCs, but it took 2 years for all of those to get out because some of them were bigger and some of them were smaller and some of them were bigger. And
And to its credit, Duke Nukem 3D also, we're not just talking about it because we love it. This was a very successful game. Within the first year or so, they sold almost 1 million copies. And all time they've sold about 3.5 million, which is pretty good for a game that cost less than $300,000 to produce. This was massive success.
Yeah, this would have been like a very small team. This would have been like an indie studio today, like hitting it big with a huge hit. So something like Five Nights at Freddy's, which I think was like, I don't know, 5 guys. I could be wrong.
Oh God,
but that series is huge, and there's a movie, and like those people cashed in. This would have been kind of like that, but for like the 90s.
And we should take a moment here to talk about shareware, because this is our first DOS game we've covered. Everything else we've covered was Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, the like. This is our first DOS game. And this really crazy thing that I want to help remind people about was shareware.
Yeah.
This is 1996 we're talking about. So we have AOL online. That's how that was our internet back then. We're not really getting, forget gigabyte speed. I mean, you couldn't get megabyte speed in a lot of houses. This was a very slow, because we were all going through the phone lines.
Right.
So you couldn't take a phone call while you were using it. That was a fun side note.
One 256 colored image would come in one line at a time on your modem.
And you paid, it was either per data or per minute, depending on what year it was. It moved around a little bit there. But it was a different era. So the challenge you have is, if I'm a studio and I make a game and I want to create buzz around it, it's very expensive era to do that. I don't have the ability. Am I going to advertise on TV? Am I going to advertise in magazines? I mean, yes, I'll do those things. Am I going to advertise in the game store? But at the end of the day, we're in 1996. All of us had at this point been burned by quite a few games that looked really cool and just sucked. So what companies started doing was they decided to put their money where their mouth was. And they said, well, we'll just give everyone the first level of the game for free.
Right. Well, because Doom did it, Wolfenstein did it, and it worked. In fact, that's how I got to play this, because I only ever had the first level, but I had a friend who really loved it, so I play more of it at his place. But yeah, this was one of those, like, I never bought it, but I could play it a little bit.
Funny, because I do laugh when we write in the notes and talk about this. Oh yeah, computer viruses weren't a thing in 1996, because it would be some friend of yours or some dude at a store would say, "Oh, hey, here's a copy of the game. Go take." And you would take that home, this disc from a stranger, put it in your computer, and run an executable file.
Right. I remember going to the game store, and there'd be a stack of discs for like freeware stuff that you could try, and I think there was even like a little change thing with like a little sign saying, like, if you want to contribute just a little bit, but they're free, but if you want to, drop in a buck, you can, just because the game store is providing this to you. Like, it was that sort of thing. But yeah, you took that disc home and you just trusted that it was fine and you stuck it in your system. But here's the thing. Everybody wasn't online all the time. You just had to dial in, and everything took forever to download or load up. So it was less about the viruses. Like, there were viruses. You had to worry about that. But it was less about your viruses taking over your computer, keylogging all your passwords. And it was more about like some jerk in town put some viruses, like took the discs, put something on there, put them back on the pile, so that when you booted up your computer, it had a clown face that laughed at you and made a fart joke or something. Like,
that was it. Because also, to be fair, there was no online banking, so it was like there wasn't really that much to steal. I made you. I
crashed your computer, and now you have to reinstall DOS.
Yeah, it wasn't that hard to do.
That was about it. Yeah,
it was fun remembering. Oh yeah, shareware.
Yeah,
good old days.
So how did you get to play the game?
Shareware, same thing. So I had the shareware version of it, and then I got the full version of it in pieces. I will say, we'll cover a little bit. It was not something I could have my parents buy for me.
Keycard. Oh yeah. So anything else on the freeware stuff thing, or are you ready to talk about like the way the world was?
Yeah, let's talk about how the way the world was, because I think this is we're getting this is fun. We're getting into John now is I'm in high school, so I've got my memories from this era a little bit stronger.
I was about to turn 17 in April
I'm 2 years
of
younger
1996. Yeah, so yeah, this would have been as an almost 17-year-old. This would have been like right up my alley.
As a 15-year-old or almost 15-year-old, this was exceptionally up my alley of like just pure joy. Like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. But let's talk about the world. So April 1996, Because You Love Me by Celine Dion. No idea what that song sounds like.
Oh, no, I can hear it in my head.
The theaters are okay, not great. You've got Primal Fear, which is not a good movie. The Birdcage, which isn't pretty good. And Sergeant Bilko, which is okay. As probably we'll discover more and more we do this cast, John likes music a lot, especially specific musics. This is April 16th. So like 3 days before this releases, you get Evil Empire by Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. So we were talking about song covers in the pre-show. This is a song that I would love to cover, but just with my voice doing all of the instruments, and the main voice would just go bow wow, 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 like over and over again. And then I'd go in a really lame voice, go at it now.
That was my first time I ever heard of a distortion pedal. But anyway, we're here to do something important, and that is talk about Duke Nukem. So as always, we like to cover this in 3 pieces: the good, the bad, and the hilarious. So let's open up with the hilarious.
Well, I think the hilarious on this one is its strongest thing, because this game is like 90% like personality and 10% everything else, right?
I would say this game is basically the complete inverse of The Last of Us 2.
Okay, yeah, because that's like all substance and just like, you got to suffer through it.
This is the complete opposite of like just joy.
Yeah, right. And absolutely playing on teenagers who grew up with video games, who are older now, and all of that stuff. So we've got freaking Duke Nukem, who was a Chad before Chad was a phrase that people used online to talk about guys like Duke Nukem, right? But here's the other thing. I was watching I watched these videos about like bad or weird movies from the past or whatever, and how like certain Rocky films were better than others. Well, remember Ivan Drago from Rocky 4? Yeah,
it's Rocky 4. Oh yeah,
he's basically like the American Ivan.
Random side note, in my opinion, if you look at Rocky 4, if you take Sylvester Stallone out, I still think Dolph Lundgren is a better action hero than really anyone else. Anyway, he was amazing. So.
Yeah. So I can see the inspiration here, and this is going to tie to something else, because I've got a surprise for you that I haven't revealed yet. So stay tuned. Here, let's move on from the character. The world design, I feel like it's prioritized on a certain level. First is it going to make your parents upset? If yes, put it in. We're committing to it. Oh look at those pixels. Secondly, is it funny?
Much better.
Okay, we'll do that too. And third, does it make sense? It's fine.
Nobody steals our chicks and lives.
Is that what they're doing? Like, that's the prioritization of like, how did things get in this game, right? The reason why I say that is because even on the first level, you have like a strip club, and you've got like posters on the wall with, pixelated women. There's like 16 pixels, and you can kind of tell it's supposed to be a naked lady, but like it's just 16 pixels. You get on it, and then you go up, and they're just still dancing.
Right.
Also, kind of weird when you get to the strippers dancing on the poles that they're not afraid of the pig cops and the evil alien.
That we're all shooting each other in there.
They're all shooting everybody.
But that's a solid 80s thing, because I can think of 80s movies where you had shootouts in like places, and the girls were like, they wouldn't like keep dancing, but there was elements where like,
but they didn't necessarily run. Yeah. But here's my theory, is that the pig cops pay well, and so they were like, we're gonna stick it out because Got to make some money. Also, there's some just other janky weirdness. Like you get to the space levels and you look out the window and you're like, oh, I'm in space. But then you see the other parts of the level that are clearly not designed to be seen from the outside because they just look like geometry. They don't look like a space station or a spaceship or anything.
Oh, yeah, they just gave up. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like, okay, I can clearly tell this is a small team and the inside space is way more important than the outside space, even though there's windows. Also, this is clearly quoting Evil Dead all over the place. This character is trying to be Ash. We talk about some of these bosses in these previous games and how weird that stuff can get. Well, the bosses themselves are like these big monsters, and they're big alien monsters with big guns or whatever, right? But when you get to the end of the game, the things that happen with the monsters after you kill them are some of the most ridiculous things in the game, and I don't think enough people talk about this. So, for example, one of the endgame bosses, you kill him, and then Duke drops Trow and takes a dump on his head, or at least where his head would have been. Then you kill another boss, and you punt his eyeball through the uprights, like a field goal. America. And then you get to the big mother boss with the 4 boobs, I guess, on her chest. And when she's down, I think even underwater maybe at this point. And then you take the C4 and you shove it in some orifice.
Yeah.
And then she blows up into lots of little pieces. So.
And then he has a magical line of,
It's time to abort your whole friggin' species.
There's also that. Yeah. I mean, he's almost Deadpool at that point. Like, what is even going on? But
well, it's a collection too of also you have the movie They Live, which is like, that's 1988. That's where, for those who don't know, that's where the line, I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Not a great movie, but I've seen it like probably 7 times.
Yeah. So there's pulling inspiration from like these 80s things.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. There's more than just inspiration from the 80s. And this is my big surprise. I found a review that somebody photographed from an old magazine. And I'm going to tell you some of the highlights from this. This is from Computer and Video Games issue 176 from July 1996, right? And they are reviewing this game and they're going into details. And this is going to lead into something, I promise. This is going somewhere. So at first we have things like the title of there's 4 pages of screenshots. It shows all the guns, it's showing the strippers. There's little black bars over them, so you can't see the pasties. It says things like, can anything ever be better at being Doom than Doom? Maybe. And the whole thing is comparing Duke Nukem to Doom. But then they're justifying why this game is going to be better than Quake, because Quake uses a 3D engine and the frame rate is really slow. But this game is still not using a 3D engine, which means it runs at 60 frames per second. And you can even run it at like 15 frames per second on your old 486 PC. And that's
God.
Like, hey, if you got an old PC, you can still play it. They're justifying this stuff. They highlight some of the special attacks, especially when you do like the bonus attack with his regular foot and then the double kick. So you kick with both feet at the same time. And there's a screenshot of that. And they're like, this is a selling point of the game.
Honestly, it sold me.
Yeah. The thing I expected when I started diving into this research was that we were going to see some pearl clutching. Right? Some like, oh, be careful. This game's a little bit edgy. It's a little bit racy. Like, I don't know where video games are going. But no, I'm totally wrong in thinking that, because these magazines were staffed by like 20 to 25-year-old young men.
There we go.
Right? And so they're like, no, this is badass. It's better than Doom.
Well, that's why I think the game's so epic, though, because it was the first one to say, hey, wait a minute. Why don't we just have fun with this?
Right.
And it really is. There's so many, and there's a lot of games come after this that do this, where it is. I mean, even take Blizzard, for example. So the first Warcraft game, if you click on the guy multiple times, eventually they get mad at you and yell at you.
Right.
Zug, leave me alone.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, please stop touching me.
Stop poking me.
Like it was those things. Like this this was kind of that origin. I mean, we also did Earthworm Jim had a little bit of this too, but not.
That's where I was going to go. Is that what Earthworm Jim was doing for 13-year-olds? This is doing for like 16-year-olds. It's the same thing where they're going like, let's just be wacky and crazy and push the boundaries and do something that we know who our audience is. This is what they want. They gave it a 5 out of 5 rating, which was a high 5 on the high 5 meter, which is kind of cute. And it says one of the most exciting, imaginative, and well thought out games for ages. And on top of that, it's gory, rude, and fun. Awesome. It feels so 90s. There's a quote in there that says, I loved this game. I played it through from start to finish in LAN co-op mode with one of the guys from Maxim Magazine. Remember Maxim Magazine? They knew who their audience was.
Maxim Magazine was around in 1996.
I guess so.
Yeah, but of course it was. It probably was. Oh, God.
Yeah, and it was such a blast. And then I found another review from Digitizer. I don't even remember Digitizer. They described the game's memorable character. They said, and you can kick urinals off the wall. Duke Nukem 3D, while offering almost nothing new, somehow manages to create a uniquely involved game environment. Because there's urinals you can kick off the wall.
That can kick a urinal off the wall. I mean, for those of you who are younger and are just kind of watching our show to learn what gaming was, I appreciate you, but you don't understand how small a change could be given to us.
Right.
And it was mind blowing.
In today's world of like the internet and you can go see anything, this is like, okay. You know, I mean, heck, cartoons have been pushing the envelope. You know, South Park and Family Guy have been pushing this kind of envelope for years.
South Park would have come out around this time. It would have been about 1996. This is around the origin of South Park.
Yep. That type of humor.
This is the push. Yep.
I found something else. Turns out that Duke, this may not be the first game that Duke Nukem was in. Sort of. There's a game that was an arcade game from 1987 called Operation Wolf. One of the characters, you're fighting all these military guys. One of the characters looks like freaking Duke Nukem. He's a muscle dude with a gun, and he's got a blonde flat top. And I don't know, I couldn't find a whole lot about this when I searched into it, but there were some references from people who said this game was actually the continuation of that character who just was like one of the bad guys in this arcade coin-op.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's my surprise. I thought that was super fun. But what else?
That's great.
What else do you want to add to the like hilarious stuff?
I think from the hilarity, I need to call someone out here. There's an actor who does Duke's voice. His name is John St. John. He does all the recording. He's done a ton of voice acting over the years, and Duke is his most famous character. He nails this game. I actually think the hilarity of the game is largely based around Duke voicing stuff. Little phrases like groovy, hail to the king, baby, and let's rock were just nothing things, but the way he delivers them.
Damn, those alien bastards are gonna pay for shooting up my ride.
Even when you open the game up, whatever difficulty you select, he says it in a Duke Nukem tone.
Come get some.
The tone of that to me was, and it still is today, like he's the biggest douchebag idiot, but he's going to freaking save the world because he's not scared. He's not scared of anything.
But it's the 80s. And again, I'm going to keep pointing to the movie They Live, because that, I'm going to name the actor in They Live, but it was that style. It was that 80s thing of like, we look at them now as like, oh, that's a Chad. Like he should be having a Monster Energy drink, a backwards hat, and a big truck, right?
Right.
But it's not. Actually, more sorry, it's a Kyle, not a Chad. It's a Kyle. That's a Kyle. So he's like, it's a Kyle. The point being is that was the whole idea. He's just this incredibly over the top character. But this is also the era of professional wrestling. This is an era where it's 1996. This is where the Attitude Era has kicked in. The Rock is in the WWE.
Well, and that's the thing, is that this feels so much more 80s than late or mid to late 90s. Like it feels like it's pulling all of that 80s inspiration for this character. You know, Hulk Hogan or any of those like muscle bound kinds of dudes.
What I'm thinking though is, and man, this is hopefully this resonates with our audience a little bit, but this is when you had Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, NWO,
and they were new.
They were all new. This was
that was like that next generation,
and they were building up. That was kind of the world at this point. It was so when this thing hit, I think it hit like a ton of bricks because we're getting this from everywhere. Like I thought you made an interesting reference earlier to South Park. This is also was it something blue, the cop show that there's something blue.
NYPD Blue?
Maybe it was NYPD Blue. And that show was the first one to actually curse on national television.
Okay. Yeah.
That was this era. This was kind of, we were starting to leave what I would call more puritanical.
Right.
It's probably a negative term, but it was styles of entertainment into entertainment that was moving more blue. And Duke Nukem just was right there waiting for everybody. This is probably around the time Mortal Kombat comes out. I have to check.
Mortal Kombat was a little bit earlier. I think by 96
94.
there was like the third Mortal Kombat was out there.
Maybe.
Something like that.
But
pushing those boundaries. Yes.
Exactly. And that's what makes it great. But again, I can't skip the strip club scene where you can pay the strippers.
Yeah.
That was built into the game. And I am sure those coders were so proud of this. And a bunch of people said, "Are you sure about that?" And they went, "Yeah, I'm really sure we're doing this."
Right.
That might be the most memorable part of the game.
Yeah. And they put it right at the beginning because they knew that would be on the freeware disc and that would get people to buy the game. So smart.
That's the hilarious done, Tom. Now let's talk about just more of the good, the actual, what did you actually think was genuinely good about the game?
Well, here's one of the things that I've enjoyed about going back to these old games, because I find that I have certain expectations and then I go on this emotional journey as I boot up the game, get into the game, reacquaint myself with the game, play it for a period of time, have kind of a different opinion. So starting out, I was like, okay, Duke Nukem. Yeah, I remember that. Right. Okay. And then within you have to change the controls. You have to get an updated patch to make it work with mouse look and all of that stuff. But once I got all that stuff running and I played it for a few minutes, I was like, oh, hey, it plays like a real game now. And I found myself just hey, this is cool. I like this.
IPVanish protects every device you own. Your phone, your laptop, your smart TV. If it connects to the internet, it should be protected. IPVanish encrypts your connection and masks your IP address, helping keep your browsing private at home and on public Wi-Fi. And with no device limits, one account covers everything. Stream with added privacy, browse securely, connect with confidence. Online protection made simple. Right now, save 83% off the 2-year plan. Get started today at ipvanish.com/audio and take control of your privacy with IPVanish.
And then I noticed the Doom influences because I played a lot more Doom than I played Duke Nukem. And I was like, okay, yeah, absolutely. I can see the Doom influences. Even the sound they make when they die, it almost feels like they took the audio file from Doom and just imported it in. Totally feels
possible.
Like that. Yeah. So that stuff was fun. The shocking pushing boundaries thing. The enemy types are fun. The whole premise of these weird looking animal alien things, all of that was pretty cool. And the fact that they even took the quick save. You can hit the quick save button and just quick save it. It might have even gone back to Wolfenstein, but that was definitely a Doom thing. So that stuff was fun. The gameplay in general is enjoyable. And once I could move in circle strafe, everything seemed to work out. So what about you? What did you think?
So to me, it was actually the originality, which sounds funny to say, because it really was just another first-person shooter. Duke is coming out after Doom 1 and Doom 2, obviously after Wolfenstein. It's post System Shock, Rise of the Triad, Star Wars Dark Forces. I went and looked it up. There are 20 to 30 first-person shooters that I recognized that came out before this one is. But it still was unique. It had guns, it had enemies, bad graphics, whatever, but they went funny and wild, whereas the rest of them didn't. I think Rise of the Triad went gory. Some of them
got real serious. Some of them got real serious. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we said before, it was an 80s action heroes. That's what it was.
Yep.
And I think it was great. The other one too is I'll also say I think the gameplay was good. You had, just like you had with Doom, beatable. Not too hard, not too easy. If you want to crank the difficulty, it does get pretty hard. Yeah. But the idea around games in my mind of this era is the good ones, at least, were meant to be a journey. The game was not, some of them were too hard, but they mostly were designed around, you can beat this. Like when we did Mega Man 2, except for that stupid dragon. Not all things are great. And I'll be honest, this game does have its flaws. So Tom, why don't you start off with what do you think the flaws of the game were?
Yeah, once I played long enough and I got past that initial burst of like, hey, this is actually really cool. And oh my God, I forgot this was in the game, all of that stuff. And then I just found myself looping back through corridors to find key cards to open doors. I was already in here. Oh, there's the card. Or getting hit by turrets that you can't blow up, but you can kind of make them spin for a minute or whatever. Like, then it started to get kind of tedious, and I started to see the cracks in the formula because they put a lot of attention in the attitude and the design, like visual design. This is what the enemies look like. These are the cool guns you're going to get, that kind of stuff. But much less on, it felt like they weren't as experienced as level designers or as good at balancing things like giving you enough ammo to kill all the enemies that show up. Or, hey, when you go down a corridor and you feel like you killed everything and no other door opens, why do enemies spawn behind you? There's no reason for them to be there. Where did they come from? You know, that kind of stuff. The layouts are a bit confusing. The maps don't always tell you exactly where to go. Heck, even when there's like button puzzles, there's not always feedback for like what actually happened when you hit the button. Like, am I doing this in an order? Am I doing this because I'm supposed to be looking out a window and it's moving something? Like, what am I? You have to kind of poke at things for a while, and then you eventually figure it out. But it doesn't telegraph that very well the way modern games do. There's a little too much trial and error. But I think genuinely the most difficult part of it was just even on regular difficulty, running out of ammo. Oftentimes you would just run out of ammo. And I was like, well, now I got to run up to things and kick them. And if it's a guy with a shotgun, I'm going to lose half my health because he's going to blast me because I'm too close. The game doesn't sometimes it doesn't balance that out particularly well.
Yeah, I will admit, I think this game was meant to play with cheat codes. And they have a lot of them. This is an era where that was a main thing in the games. I think much like Grand Theft Auto, it's fun to play without them, but it's kind of meant for you to play with the cheats every now and then. So
did you find anything you didn't like that I didn't cover already?
Yeah, a couple of bits. I think you covered a little bit, but I want to dive a bit more. The game does get a little stale. Just understand it was Doom and then this. I actually did play through all 30 levels.
Wow.
Well, it's funny. So for our recording, I did the first 8, and then I was like, I had some time. And so I went back and just kept doing some more just on my own, just to kind of see how they were. And they add a bit more to it. You get some of the funny boss kills. Those parts are great, but you also, the game does get a little bit stale at a certain point. It just gets too much repetitive. The other challenge is also one area, and I feel bad saying this, is I haven't played this game in a long time. They're VGA graphics. And there's an element where like it's hard. I don't want to judge a game against the current, but it's this thing of like when you go back and you watch a TV show from your youth that you were convinced was amazing and hilarious and incredible. And like you tell your spouse, you got to come watch this. What do you mean you never saw this? You got to come watch this with me. Yeah. And 20 minutes in, you go, my memory is not that accurate. Are the graphics good? No. Is the gameplay awesome? Yep. With Duke Nukem, I loved it. It was fun playing it again, but the graphics really are kind of hard.
They are harsh, especially on a bigger screen. I think that's part of it too, is that when it's on a smaller CRT, it's fuzzy and it blends the pixels together better. But on a nice big modern monitor, it's really blocky. It's really blocky. It hurts. So, but anyway, with that being said, 2 questions we always ask. Does the game hold up? Was it still as fun as you remember? And 2, did it bring you back to your youth? Yes, these are always tricky. These are always tricky for me. Absolutely brought me back. I have memories of like going over to my friend's house and playing it and all of that. So yes to that one. Does it hold up? I think I have to answer this the same way that I felt back in the day. And it was that it was a fun kind of shocking thing at the time. And it was fun to kind of dabble in it when I got to play it over at my friend's house or whatever. I was 17 years old. I worked at Taco Bell. I had money. I could buy things. Yeah. But I didn't buy it because I just wasn't into it that much. And I think that's kind of where I am now. I don't think my mind has changed. I don't know that I mean, yeah, I'm looking back through time, and there's 100 million other games I could be playing, sure, but it's a lot of style and not as much substance as I kind of had hoped in the end, you know?
I'm the opposite. I actually, this did bring me back. This game I loved it as a kid. It was fun playing it again. I really, as much as the graphics were rough, the hilarity of it, just seeing it and bringing back, I can remember the first time I saw the game and made me laugh really hard. So I did like that. I did think it put me back in a nostalgia era. Will I play it again in the next few years? Probably not.
Yeah,
but because we have a lot of other stuff to get to.
That's true.
But
that's
it's
true.
that's kind of how I would put it. So
Okay, cool. So we're about to get to the challenge, so don't go anywhere. But for next week, what are we covering next week?
All right, I'm gonna possibly give all of you PTSD. We are going to play Ninja Turtles on the NES, the first one.
Oh man,
not the arcade one.
This one,
the first one.
This one
with the swimming levels.
I have. There's like deep suffering in my soul because of this game. Because when I was a kid, real quick, and I'm sure I'll talk more about it next week. I saved up my money and I was young and I couldn't find this game. And we were on vacation. We found it on a store shelf in like a Kmart. And then I bought it with all my birthday money and I had to wait to get home to play it. And then I put it in. And I was devastated by how bad it was.
I think when we covered it, does it hold up is going to be more of, was it as bad as we remember? Because the game's not bad. I want to point out, this game appears on none of the top 100 worst games of all time in any way, shape, or form. It's just difficult. It's very, very difficult. It's one of these games that probably was a good game. I'm going to spoil it to everybody. This is the first time in my life I've seen the end of this game. I did play it the whole way through and beat it. Yeah. Did I cheat? Yes.
Right,
but
sure.
because I've never seen the end of it. And I wanted to. So that's what we're going to do next week. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a fun little jump into I think to that point for a lot of us, this was a game we all had a similar experience of like, man, that game was hard.
Yeah.
Man, that game was hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So if you've enjoyed the episode so far, make sure you like and subscribe. Do all the YouTubey things. Join us on our Discord. There's links underneath the description, all of that stuff. And you can tell us if you think this game is better than we thought it was, or if you still play it, if you still love it. And also, if you are into our stuff, check out our other content. John does the 40K Lorecast, the history of 40K. I do the Fallout Lorecast, the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, the Lord of the Rings Lorecast. All of these shows are actually very, very, very successful. We have big audiences and people seem to love it. There's lots of community and people who chime in for all of this stuff. So come join us for those things as well.
We're not done yet. So let's, so today's challenge is simply going to be who can get the furthest in the first level with the highest difficulty. And I'll be honest, Tom, after the bore fest that was Airwolf last week, I was determined not to lose this one.
Okay. All right. So I put it on the hardest difficulty, gave it one try, and very quickly ran out of ammo, made it all the way to the elevator. And anybody who's played that first level knows where the elevator is. Got into the room, got overwhelmed by too many enemies. I couldn't fight off, and I died right there. Oh, kick him. I'm dead. Okay, I'm not dead. I'm almost dead. Oh! Hopefully that's far enough. That was as far as I got.
Yeah, I didn't get that far, unfortunately.
Okay.
Oh, come on.
Oh, that's a shame. Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, I got killed by the pig cops around the corner pretty quickly.
Oh, bummer. Well, one of these days I'll lose one of these challenges again and I'll have to play something terrible. But for this week, you're going to play, actually, this is a game that's on the terrible list, but I remember playing this with my brother when we would compete in the Caveman Olympics. I don't even know how to say that word.
No.
Yes, it's a caveman game with all these little mini games, and you have to like throw your wife. It's wife tossing, and then there's like a dinosaur or something. I don't know. I don't remember all the things, but I remember playing this, and now you get to experience it. So congratulations. So How was it, John?
I'm just using the word disappointing. Jesus Christ, Tom. It's the best word.
Did you have higher expectations?
Just disappointing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. Like, it looks like it's going to be funny. The premise is very funny. Holy crap. And the execution is terrible. All right. I'm going to be honest. This looks awesome. These controls do not work. So let's go through this nightmare that I had to sit through. So you got 6 Olympic games you have to perform, and each of them are at their core funny. Pole vault over a dinosaur, American Gladiator style club fight, outrun a saber-toothed tiger, ride a dinosaur, make fire where you can hit the other person.
Yeah.
And my personal favorite, the only one I actually figured out how to play and enjoyed, throw your wife.
Yeah, that's the one that I remember the best.
It's the only one that actually functions correctly, if I'm being honest. But
yeah,
it is oddly enjoyable. The scene, you drag your spouse onto the scene, and then you hold one of her legs and spin around in a circle by like moving your fingers in a rotation, and then you have to hold the button for height, and then you get distance. And if you throw her really well, she does a celebratory dance afterwards. This one's epic.
Yeah, doesn't she bounce? Didn't she bounce?
Yeah, she bounces a couple times.
Yeah.
But if you get like over like 90 foots, by the way, not feet, foots, then she gets up and does a dance. I thought that was funny and enjoyable, if I'm being honest. But I like that one, not just because it's funny, because it's the only one where the button inputs actually were responsive enough. Like, I'm actually playing on a Nintendo controller. I hit A button, B button, and those things. It just was hard to get the game to work. And that's why I call it disappointing, because I think has a lot of potential and then just blah.
Just not great. Yeah. 9-year-old me, I think, spent a lot of time trying to get good at those, even though the controls were bad. But it was like that was the game we rented that week, and my brother and I that's what we had to play. So we played it. But I remember thinking it was pretty fun. But yeah, that's it. I also remember the fact that like there were times where we would just yell at each other because we were like, "No, I hit the button, it didn't do it," and it wasn't our fault. It was the game. So
I mean, and that was just kind of the era. Unfortunately, a lot of these games were. The idea was good, but just they couldn't get the inputs just right, and so the game became kind of just unfun because you just couldn't get it to work correctly.
All right. Do you think it deserves to be on the worst games list?
Yeah, I do. Unfortunately, I wish it didn't. Candidly, I think it's a better game than that. And its core concept, but just the execution's so bad. That's actually because it almost makes it worse. There's games we've played, and probably there's more games I'm sure on the list we will play that are just objectively terrible games. It has so much potential, but it's just not very much fun. This one should have been a good game. They just didn't work.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of felt like that about Duke Nukem. Also, was like I was rooting for it more than I was enjoying it after playing past a certain amount of time.
Yeah. The difference is Duke Nukem actually does function. It's just
right. No, it does function.
This one doesn't function. That was
No, it's still a level above. Sure. Absolutely. Don't at me. Don't comment me and be like Tom's an idiot. No, it's clearly the better game. I get it. But it still has that same kind of disappointment kind of baked in where you're like, I really like this concept. I see what they're going for. I just wish it was a little bit more refined. All right. So what did we learn from this last week in games?
That when fighting off an alien invasion to save the planet Earth, make sure you're carrying some singles in cash.
And with that,
Retro Recall.